I remember watching the buildings collapse, watching the airplanes go right into the buildings. Pandemonium. It was a life-changing day for me and for so many. And when I watched the fire departments respond, I watched the police officers literally run toward the collapsing buildings and the dirt and the smoke everywhere. Boy, wow. I was in awe. That changed me. It really did. It changed me in so many ways. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be a solemn video. And I'm going to try to keep my composure and my focus because I had a tough night last night. We are filming this on September 11th. And the idea of this video is to speak about September 11th and to honor this day. But before I get into that, what happened yesterday, September 10th, with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, has broken my heart. Honestly, I'm reeling. That's all I can say. And I know that a lot of the United States feels the same way. What we can do here is pray for his family, his kids, and we also pray for him that he lays on greener pastures. And as a country, I am sick and tired of people just taking it in the mouth and putting it in the back burner. We need to grow from this. We need to be stronger from this. And we need to change. We need to make drastic changes in some of our ideology, how we raise our kids, because this is not a way of life. Shooting someone that you don't agree with them just because you don't agree with them. Think about that. He was a young man and a powerful young man, and the reason that he disturbed many is because he was downright effective. Again, this is not a podcast about yesterday. It's a podcast about September 11th. I need to give it the due respect that it deserves. So let me delve into this. September 11th was a day where, and I'm sure most of you remember where you were that day. And I remember watching the buildings collapse, watching the airplanes go right into the buildings. Pandemonium. It was a life-changing day for me and for so many. And when I watched the fire departments respond, I watched the police officers literally run toward the collapsing buildings and the dirt and the smoke everywhere. Boy, wow. I was in awe. And I'll tell you, that changed me. It really did. It changed me in so many ways. And I have a sheet here in front of me where I'm trying to figure out all these things that I want to touch on today, but I'm just probably going to speak from the heart. It's not going to come out perfect, but hell, who cares? Look, from that day on, everything changed in my life. I was working as a Wall Street broker. It was important for me to be the best in my game. It really was. It was an important part of my personality and my character is always to be the best in the field. So I was at a very high level at that time on Wall Street. I was growing, getting better. My name was being recognized all over the place. I mean, it was, I felt good about myself. And I felt like I was accomplishing a mission and a goal that I had set out years prior. But when that day came around, I realized that something very, very deep inside of me had been harboring, where I needed to serve, where I needed to challenge myself, where I needed to go out there and help people. And while being a stockbroker was great in many facets, and sure, I helped people make money and their investments and so on, but the reality was that was very superficial. I wanted to really make an impact, to make a difference. And it was almost like God was calling me to do a job of service, to put myself in the line of fire to help others. And I waited about a year or so before I started making moves and started really gravitating to that. Finally, I remember a couple years after that and say, look, I've been festering this sense of service, of servitude inside of me for a while now, since 9/11, and I have to make a change in my life. And I sat across from my wife, very brand new wife, basically only been married less than a year at that time. And we had a baby on the way. We had just, I remember it was like yesterday. She was just, literally, she had told me she was pregnant. And so, man, it was tough. I was sat across from her, and I said, listen, I need to do something with my life. I need to go down a different road, but that's going to take a tremendous amount, really, of strength. It's going to take a tremendous amount of determination, of focus, and understanding that we're going to go through a lot of crap. And we did. When I decided to start focusing on becoming a police officer, everything changed around me. Keep in mind, we were living in a beautiful house in a country club, driving beautiful cars, making a nice living. And she married a stockbroker. Certainly she didn't marry a cop. And it took me a year to get hired. Finally, without going too much into it, bottom line is I got hired, and by one of the most violent cities in the country. But it didn't matter. My goal was to work narcotics undercover. My goal was to be in a specialized unit, to really make an impact where it counted. So, you talk about serving, and it's not that easy. Sometimes we're out there in the real world as police officers. I remember that, you get jaded, and somehow you have to find it in you to care a little bit, just enough for you to do the job. And I remember going through COVID. That was a time where everything changed, right? A weird time. And people didn't know, they had no idea what was happening. It was a little bit of pandemonium. We were locked down in so many ways. Police departments did not know how to handle it. It was tough. People were just all over the place. I remember patrolling the streets, empty streets, completely empty, no one in sight, in the middle of the day. There were no cars moving. There were no people walking around. Everybody was indoors. The grocery stores were empty. Restaurants were closed. People walking, the people that were outside walking around trying to get to their jobs, they were wearing masks like to hospitals and things like that. It was just a weird, very, very weird situation. So I look back at life and I reflect on it, and I'm thinking, we have gone through so much in our country. 9/11 was a time where so many of us decided to either jump into law enforcement, into firefighting, into the military. And it inspired those to go out there and serve our country in some way, shape, or form. And what hurts me the most sometimes is that instead of being a united front, we have, even within the ranks, this bickering going back and forth. You have soldiers demeaning what police officers do, and sometimes vice versa. You have police officers demeaning what soldiers do. Same thing with firefighters. And we have this mentality sometimes where we think that we are better than one another instead of serving for a higher purpose. Because I will tell you from my experience and serving 18 and a half years in law enforcement, I've seen a lot of things. A lot of bad things. And in the end, if I didn't have good people that were there around me, other individuals who, would be able to back me up, other officers or agents who were there by my side. I mean, this is not a job you can do by yourself. The same thing goes for being a soldier in the military. You rely on other soldiers to back you, to walk into battle with you. And what I noticed, that the wars that we fought on the street were in the home frontier. These wars had a lot of meaning. And it's tough to go back in time and realize that, wow, there were so many incidents. There were so many, I don't want to say opportunities, but more like there were so many times where I was in fucked up situations where I could have gotten hurt or killed easily. But by the grace of God, somehow I had Him protecting me all throughout. And in my rookie years, boy, did I put myself in really bad positions. Talking about middle of the night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, fighting dudes in the middle of alleyways with guns and no backup in sight. Just stupid rookie things. Trying to go out there and lay the law down and impress your supervisor, so hopefully you get yourself into a unit, cutting down the crime. But I look back at my life and I say, these are times that defined me. Real times that defined me. If I had not been exposed to the things that I was exposed to, I don't think that I would be the same man today at all. And I am glad in some weird way that I was exposed to those situations. But I'll tell you, there were times where you were challenged in a way that is hard to even comprehend. Working in violent cities and that I worked in, hyper violent, very busy, going back and forth. The way you start seeing life is very, very different. Very different. Unlike other departments where you don't have that much crime and you kind of coast through your 20 or 25 years. There was no such thing as coasting in my career. And the inspiration really for these police officers and soldiers that ran into danger during 9/11, my God. The ultimate respect. Ultimate respect. And then for those who came in the back end and who, my goodness, they searched for bodies for months and months, and it was just an ongoing situation. And these men and women who stepped up, powerful, without a doubt. And like I said, it inspired me. It inspired me. And to this day, I believe that if I wouldn't have gone down that road, I would not be the same man. And I'm happy in so many ways that I was able to experience that. So now, in this stage of my life, I can share these experiences and bring them forth for people to not only hear about them, but to feel them. Because I think that emotion, the way you transmit something, the frequency that you speak, how you look, your mannerisms, say a lot about what you're saying. Really. I think there's power and conviction that comes from someone who has truly experienced something. But the best is yet to come. As we grow from this, as we continue to remember 9/11, the men and women who died, the victims who died, the families who were broken, we have is really something to build on, because I don't remember a time ever in our country that we were closer, connected than right after 9/11. We were so connected. And I would love to go back to that time. It only lasted for a few months, but I would love to go back to that time. You felt, even after this disaster and this catastrophe, you felt something powerful in this country where you were interconnected with everybody else. People were being polite. There was a sense of humbleness. There was a sense of honor, of truthfulness. During that time frame, if I don't know exactly the statistics, but I believe in 6 months following 9/11, crime went down in cities. And I'm not talking about New York City. I'm talking about in other cities throughout the United States. Crime went down. I don't know what exactly the percentages were, but they were. They did go down. People were just a little bit more, there was a sense of honor. I don't know about you, but I think that this country needs to go back to a state of honor, of truthfulness, of patriotism, of values, principles that really connect with one another. We've achieved a level of complete, really a level of complete disconnection. We need to change that. We need to make something happen in our country. And what happened with Charlie Kirk yesterday, the fact that this young man was out there spreading his message, spreading his word, and then somebody wants to shut him up by killing him, that is unacceptable. What happened to freedom of speech? What happened? Where has forget about the Constitution, we're not even talking about that, but just our way, our principles, our foundations, our fundamentals of life, where have they gone? Listen, guys, there's a lot to ponder here, a lot to ponder. And I'll be taking these next few days to be reflective. Maybe you should too. A lot going on in our world right now. A lot of things. And I think my wife told me, man, that she hadn't seen me this way in a long time. There's a look in my eyes. She just texted me that. Actually, I could even read you the text here. She said, the look in your eyes, let me see. that I saw yesterday was definitely that you were distraught. You had the same look back in December 2019 when we were having an issue, blah, 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 regarding some other stuff. But bottom line is, yeah, man, my eyes were all over the place yesterday. I mean, I was like, brokenhearted. And I believe truly that I'll bounce back from this, but I'll tell you, I believe with everything in me that we need to rise up as men. We need to be more masculine in our approach. We need to keep our heads on a swivel. We need to protect our families. We need to protect our legacy. We need to raise our children with conviction, with principles, with fundamentals, and be the best versions of ourselves, because we owe it to our families. We do it. We owe it to our families. It's so important. With that said, guys, if you you like this content, and I know that today probably bored you a little bit on my tone and so on, but just speaking from the heart here and just having the thoughts pop up and speaking into a mic. Sometimes it's good just to be raw and authentic, and that's what it's about. So if you like this channel, if you like what we talk about, if you want to really grow to be a better version of yourself, and we love to talk about the warrior's way, really living a life that embodies the warrior spirit, and sharpening your blade, being a man of honor, being a man of integrity. So if you do like that, please subscribe, share this content, comment below. That would be really appreciated. That we can continue to grow and get this message out to men who really need it. Also, I get a lot of DMs about the Man of War Crucible. If you don't know what the Man of War Crucible, I would highly recommend that you go to manofwar.us. That's manofwar.us, and hit the Crucible tab there, and it'll take you right into one of our most powerful programs. That it's about building a brotherhood, and boy, do I believe in brotherhood, especially in times like this. That'll give you an opportunity to go through a rite of passage and into our brotherhood. And this is the type of program that will define you, that will break you down and build you back up, to be the man really that you're supposed to be, for your family. And I truly believe that every man owes that to their families. But with that said, man, if you're interested in any of our programs, just go to manofwar.us, and may God bless you, and talk to you guys soon.